Hi everyone, welcome here. This is a channeling session / reading session for what's to come in the next 5 years. I got quite a specific message to do a session like that, which is quite interesting because I rarely get such specific time frames. For me, how time sort of comes through in my meditation, or whether it's a download or whatever you call it, it's quite vague. It's almost like a rubber band that can stretch and compress. So I don't really take these numbers as it is, or attach myself too much to these time frames, because honestly so many things can change in like just half a year or even in a couple of weeks. So just a general idea of what's to come in the next couple of years, and just bear in mind that things can change, and it usually does change because this timeline that we're on is a collective timeline, and each and every one of our decisions actually impact this collective timeline, this collective evolution. So that's why time frames don't really matter that much, more so the energetic currents of what's coming through, the messages that comes through here, or the messages that you receive. I'm going to show you the cards that I have picked on the screen right now. So the first card that I pulled is the Rainbow Portal card. Interestingly, this morning I actually saw a rainbow at the beach earlier. And this month I've seen this is the third rainbow that I've seen, which is more than what I've seen over the past 6 months. So interestingly, something about the rainbow is coming up. The rainbow is actually I can't remember the scientific term for it, but it is I think it's called refraction. It is a refraction of white light through a prism, for example. Or if you have crystals, and if you have seen light shining through the crystals, and the way that the crystal's cut is, and how it breaks up the light that is coming through, then gives you the rainbow. And this is actually a very good example to explain the different kinds of frequency that we receive. It is a good analogy to also explain the different kinds of gods, goddesses, deities, angels, whatever, that we come across in our spiritual journeys. They are all streams of consciousness of this one source. So you can kind of see this source as this big field of energy that then funnels through different universes, different galaxies, which then funnels through different planets, which then funnels through Earth, and then we receive this streams of consciousness. So it is very important to understand as we move forward, as our consciousness expand over the next couple of years, there is going to be a very exponential expand of our collective consciousness. More people are going to experience a lot of what so-called spiritual awakening, a lot of the masses who hasn't really gone through it yet, or are, I don't know if you can resist it, but basically there's going to be different layers of awakening. Even, if you're already, on your journey for a decade or 2 decades or a long, long, long time, for your lifetime, there is still an expansion, because, energy is always, always, always expanding, and we are forever expanding to infinity. We're actually receiving a lot of these consciousness or codes or streams of frequencies from different planets. Planets are actually, they act like a prism that breaks down, rather, not that there's an up or down, but it sort of dissects this big field of energy for us so that we can receive it as a human. So planets aren't just this cool thing that, we think and we see that exists, and question whether there are other life forms or not. Actually, planets are consciousness in itself, and they act like modulators to help to break down, dissect, modulate these frequencies so that we can receive it. It's kind of like when a mother bird needs to chew up the food for the baby bird, because the baby bird doesn't know how to eat yet when it is still really, really, really young, like a baby. When we talk about extraterrestrial multidimensional consciousness or beings, when, let's say in Hindu philosophy or the religion, there is a lot of mentions about different gods and goddesses like Shiva, like Lakshmi. It is important to understand that, yes, maybe they might have existed before in the ancient past, but that is not really the key thing for us to focus on right now, because it is what it is, but the more important thing is to understand them as streams of frequency. So for example, if we talk about the goddess Lakshmi, right? A lot of people chant the Lakshmi mantra and they worship the Lakshmi goddess. They pray to the Lakshmi goddess for abundance, for wealth. But really, it's not a goddess of abundance. It's not a goddess of wealth. It is actually a stream of source consciousness, a fractal of source consciousness that is abundance, that is beauty, that is wealth. But wealth doesn't just mean monetary wealth. It's, abundance in all different forms. And then there's also, let's say, for example, another god, Ganesh, right? The Ganesh mantra is very famous, and a lot of people chant the Ganesh mantra for removing obstacles. But really, again, just like the Lakshmi stream of consciousness, it is also another stream, just another color of the spectrum of the rainbow, that is that of the cycle of destruction. Destruction doesn't just mean, a negative thing, but it is the natural cycle of time where there is expansion and then there's contraction, where there's spring and then there's winter, where flowers bloom and then leaves dry up and wither and all the leaves fall to the ground and the tree is bare. It is a part of this one field of source consciousness. When there's creation, there is also destruction. And then obviously there is the god Brahma, which is, that of the stream of creation. So you get the gist. All of this are simply different fractals of consciousness. It all comes from the same source. So there's really technically no separation. However, we live, in this plane that has its own universal laws that, has cause and effect, that has duality, and, we are bodies-wise separate from each other, even though consciousness-wise it's not. But this is how the rules of the games are. And we have to really remember that this separation is technically needed for us to experience what we experience. This separation is technically needed so that we can actually, in a sense, remember. The truth is that it all is from this one source, consciousness. So unity consciousness is coming through. Unity consciousness is not just a surface level understanding of, everybody unites and, we are one and blah, blah, blah. It's actually the fact that everything comes from this one place, and this place is the convergence point of duality, non-duality. This place is the convergence point of our finite self and our infinite selves. And so unity consciousness is not really about uniting physically or mentally or emotionally, but on a deeper level, it is actually talking about unifying our finite self with our infinite selves that actually is beyond individualized awareness of, I'm aware that I am this name, or I'm aware that I'm actually looking through this lens. I'm aware of this soul, or I'm aware of this consciousness that is this name, and I'm playing out or living as this person. It actually goes beyond this feeling of I amness. So that's what unity consciousness is about, and it's part of the stages of awakening, I guess, if you can call it, that eventually all of us will get to understand what this really is. And I call it coming home to ourselves, because really, what are we unifying with? We're not unifying with the outside, we are unifying within. And the cliche saying that goes, everything is within you, it technically is true. Everything is within you, and everything outside of you is a reflection of what's within you. Microcosm, macrocosm. We need to have a deeper understanding of what these phrases actually mean when they're, just so common these days. It comes out of people's mouths so easily. But do you really understand what it means on a deeper level? And this comprehension is not something that can really be logicalized. It's actually directly experienced, directly felt by yourself. And you technically don't need to explain it to people. You don't need to know how to put it into words, because it is your experience, and that's what matters the most, is your direct experience. So, feels like the first card is complete. The next card is Wings of Integrity. This word integrity really spoke to me. It really stood out to me, and over the past couple of days, the word authenticity, honesty, truthfulness has also been coming up a lot. As we go through these sort of quantum level expansion, so quantum level expansion, what I mean by that is that this evolution is not linear. It's not like, step by step. It could feel like you jumped timelines. It could feel like you basically went through something that you're meant to go through in a year within a week. And that level of expansion, that level of transformation, that level of evolution is a lot. And the way to ground yourself is to always ask, what's true to me? Is this decision true to me? Am I being honest with myself? If not, then there's stuff to reflect on. Why? Why am I not, acting or making decisions based off what is true to me? Why does it feel like there is a gap between what I think is true versus what I think I need to believe in or what I think I need to do? This gap is part and parcel of the journey, because over our lifetime we have taken on a lot from friends, family, society, people telling us what we need to do, monkey see, monkey do, and believe it or not, a lot of things that we think we desire are actually not what we truly desire. Whether it's that job, whether it's the kind of relationship, whether it's the kind of lifestyle, a lot of the times they are things that we see people have, and then we think, oh, maybe this is what I should have, or how my life should be like as well. As you go through these quantum leap transformations, part of the journey will be all of these that are not true to you will fall away. It might feel like your life is falling apart, but don't worry. It's not falling apart because you did something wrong, but it's falling apart because it's, in a sense, putting you back on track. It is directing you back to what's true to you. Things that happen might not be the nicest thing to experience, in my humble experience. Try to see the bigger picture. The more you attach yourselves to what's no longer true to you, that's no longer authentic to you, the harder it is, the more challenging it is to move through it. It's kind of like you're trying to go against a rip current in the ocean. You're not gonna make it. You're just gonna tire yourself out and you're not gonna be moving. The ocean's still gonna drag you out. The best way to move through a rip current, to survive a rip current, is actually to lie on your back and to relax. And let it take you out however much it needs to take you out, and then swim parallel to the shore and out of the rip current, and then, try to get back onto the shore. Survival tips 101. But that's what nature is teaching us. It's, sometimes if you try to go against the current, that's what causes more pain, challenge than it actually is. And another thing is that don't see it as a bad thing, because our perspective really do change our reality. Not that our reality actually changes, it's the same, but the way that we see life is different. Therefore, we have a different attitude towards it. We then take different actions and live life differently. So try to see the bigger picture, because we are all moving towards enlightenment, or towards the light age, or out of the darkness, right? We are evolving in that way, and that is part of the time cycle. Not that you technically have to do anything, because everything is going to move that way anyway. Having said that, you have a choice. You have a choice. You can choose whether you want to build the kind of life that you want to live, or you can choose not to. This is part of the rules of the game. You actually do have free will. A lot of people feel like destiny and free will can't coexist. It feels like it's contradicting, but actually they're part of the same thing. It's like how we are infinite and yet finite at the same time. Both can coexist. Both are true. And so it is true that you do have free will, and that destiny is also a thing. Yeah, not the video to talk about destiny and free will. I haven't done the video. You have a choice, but this choice is not like a brute force kind of vibe, right? Where this is what I want to do, and therefore I do it, and then you kind of force yourself through it, or you burn yourself out trying to get that goal. There's actually a sort of like a conversation or a dance or a pulsation between this concept of free will versus destiny, or versus this bigger, grander scheme of things. And that a lot of the times our desires are actually sort of placed in our field, so that we then desire to do something, we then desire to go somewhere, and then it all leads us towards this bigger picture. So it's all part of how things work in this realm. Remember, I said that there's cause and effect here on the plane that we are existing in. It is dual, and things work linearly. We cannot ignore these universal laws, because this is what governs how things work here. So don't see them as a restriction, but rather see them actually as part of the divine plan that helps to move this game forward. It's like how, games have different parameters. If you don't have them, then I don't know how does the game work, but if you don't have them, then probably it's going to be like super chaotic. There is structure actually in this plane, so appreciate that, and then understand how to work with it instead of against it. I think this is one of the higher levels of spiritual awakening or understanding, is not just understanding that there's something beyond our physical, but being able to integrate this spiritual higher consciousness concepts or frequencies or awakenings into our human lives, and they're not like separate. You know how when you drive a manual car and you change gears, some people when they change gears you can feel like the whole car jerking. It's actually a seamless changing of gears. That's how we want our lives to be. We're able to be spiritual, but we're able to be human as well, and they bleed in together. They're so interconnected, or they're so integrated. Sorry, the word is integrated. The better word is integrated. They're so integrated that you actually can't distinct that. And that's the truth, is that we're both. So why is there that separation? Why is there that distinction that this is this this is human, this is spiritual, this is that. Like, no, like, we're all it. The other thing that's coming through is that it's very important for us to have integrity, or to be true to what's coming through, not just true to ourselves, but true to what we do or what's coming through that we then act on, because there is going to be a lot of unraveling. I use these words with caution. I'm gonna say it word for word what's coming through. There's gonna be a lot of unraveling of very powerful technologies. And what they mean by technology, it's wisdom. It's not technology as in like technology that we know, like phones or softwares. It's ancient knowledge. For example, breathwork is technology. For example, sound healing is technology. For example, specific practices within an ancient lineage is technology. Music is technology. You get the gist. So there are going to be a lot of these powerful, I guess, techniques or wisdom that will be known or opened up to the public to support us in this evolution. Did you know, little side note, that there are actually locked mantras? Mantra is technology. They are actually specific lineage sanctioned mantras that only the initiated can receive and work with. There used to be mantras that are locked, and then because of the time cycles, right, the sages saw what was coming and knew that this specific mantra would be beneficial for humanity to know, you know, on a mass level scale, not just for the initiated. So many of these sages would then come together for however many days, like 40 days or 108 days or whatever, to keep chanting the mantra and doing specific rituals to then sort of open the mantra for the collective to use it. One of the mantra is called Maha Mrityunjaya mantra, and it is a mantra that is very, very relevant for us in this day and age. So because of these powerful technologies, wisdom, practices that are going to come through, it is important that we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to have integrity, how we use it, how we make certain decisions, why we make certain decisions, especially in these next few years. Okay, the last card is Contemplative Solitude. I actually really love this card because there are elements of nature that's beneath these women, this figure, right? There's elements of nature, and then above her there are elements of, in my eyes, the universe. So it's like nature and the cosmos is supporting her. Contemplative solitude is very important as you move through these quantum leap transformations or evolution. The reason is because during this time, it would feel like your world is being broken apart, like an earthquake, and the grounds are still kind of moving or vibrating, and you don't really want to do too much because life is already, so much is already happening in life. A lot of these conditioned programmings are going to purge. And so if you were to not be in a contemplative solitude place, then it's going to be very challenging for these belief systems to like fully purge away. Yeah, so it's technically hermit mode. Don't be surprised if you feel like you don't want to meet anybody and, friends just fall away, or I just feel like a loner. It's completely normal, and it's part of the process so that things can settle, and then you're free from the distractions from the outside world, from friends' opinions, family's opinions, energy of the external world, and it's just you and yourself, and hopefully there's nature around you to support you. Nature is actually one of the biggest, most helpful supporter during these times, so that you can then anchor into your own truth, which links to integrity. How do you even know what's true to you? How do you even know what's honest to you and authentic to you? You won't until you are free from people's random opinions and advices. So it is important to have these cocoon phase or plays, so that the layers around you can melt away, and without any disturbances, and then this true, authentic you can shine through. I feel like that's complete. It's short for the last card, but I think it's very self-explanatory. Just something else that's coming through for the last card is that even though you're physically alone, or that there are not many people from your past or people that that physically seem like they're supporting you, don't worry, because there are other forces that are supporting you. Nature is one. There are also these fractals of consciousness, whether you call them your higher self, or whether you call them Christ consciousness, or whether you call them a name, or a multidimensional being, or an angel. Again, remember that they're all just different bandwidths of frequency and streams of consciousness that are part of this bigger source field. But these streams of consciousness do have their own purpose. They have their own unique frequency, their signature frequency, and that's what makes them unique, and that's what makes it like a laser pointer that supports you in a specific way, or that teaches you in a specific way, and also in terms of frequency wise, it matches your frequency and is able to, I guess, support you, work with you in that way. So, in conclusion, it is a very exciting time that we are in. I feel like even 3 years ago, these things have already been coming through my channeling sessions, and sometimes I'm like, not again, not this message, not again, not this message. But I also have to remind myself that yeah, things happen and take time, and that what seems like in 3 years, why are these messages still coming through? But actually, if I tune into the nuances and the subtleties of these frequencies, we definitely have moved from, you know, the messages that were coming through 3 years ago. What I received was that a lot of these structures, systems are going to fall. And I was like, what do you mean? And then, I mean, 3 years later, looking back, I'm like, okay, that's what it means. And it's still, you know, happening. It's progressively happening. And even though the message is still, it's falling, it's still slowly unraveling and slowly, I guess, collapsing. But it has progressed, it has moved. It's not like we're still on day zero. We are moving in that direction. Things will speed up, and yeah, things will speed up. Not like it's not already fast enough. Yeah, leaps and leaps and leaps happening ahead of us. All that you really need to do is to take care of yourself. I think the most important thing is to be a down-to-earth human that is honest, that is true to yourself, and the rest is going to fall into place. Yeah, I think that is the most important thing that we can do, not just for ourselves, but for the collective, for humanity, for Earth. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for being with me. I will see you in the next video.